Hey, Christopher Luther here, and I have our DS-150 model violin. I picked this violin in particular for a friend and Nashville artist who wants to play with octave strings. What is octave strings? Well, they're strings that sound an octave lower on the violin, so it has a closer register to a cello actually. And there are two models of octave strings. Before I show them to you, here's what the violin sounds like, normal strings. So that'll give you an idea of how it sounds before we put the octave strings on. Here is our Diodario helicore, and you can see in the bottom corner octave strings. So this is one of the options. And the other option that I know of is by Octave Vienna, and it is their super flexible, and then you can see right here Octave Violin. So we're going to try both these on, see which set we like better, what set works better with this violin, so you kind of know what we'd recommend for an octave setup on a violin. Alright, helicore strings are on. These are the ones that I have on here. And let's tune it up and see how it sounds. I'm impressed with how resonant it sounds, and one thing that makes these projects fun for us is the artist who wanted the violin and strings let me pick out the violin, and so I picked one that's really open and resonant, and I think that continued with the octave strings, because when I was a student I put octave strings on and the instrument just sounded so constricted, and it was a nicer, older German violin, but on this violin, it just sounds a lot more louder and a lot more resonant. So I'm really encouraged, and it's very responsive, which you'll lose response the lower and thicker the string is. But you can hear that clarity in the left hand. And it's just the whole thing is shaking so much. So I'm pretty encouraged it doesn't sound that soft. And so we'll have to compare with the other ones.
A few moments later.
Just putting on the G string for the Infeld Tomastic Super Flexible, it is so much thicker than the helicore, so we'll see how the rest of them feel. But that was the first thing I noticed, is how much thicker that G string is. Okay, we just put the second set on, the Tomastic Infeld Vienna Super Flexible octave strings. They have a blue bottom, and then they have a blue top as well, and yeah, that low G string is much thicker than the helicore, but the rest are similar to the thickness of the helicore. So giving it my first play. With the thicker C string is I can dig in a little bit further, but it's not quite as direct. The sound is more fluffy. It sounds more like a fractional cello than a violin with an octave string. So the advantages to really being able to dig in with your bow, but not as much clarity, and a little bit harder with the left hand because it's just a lot different than the normal G string. Although, if I just play my left hand normally, it seems to respond normally. But I think we also lose clarity in the left hand. So I feel like this is more of a classical setup. It's smoother and more resonant. And then the zippiness gives a little bit more response, and I think works with the rapid bow strokes of fiddle music. And this is more, if you were like playing more singing and legato and beautiful music with vibrato. I think this would work better. They're both beautiful. This is more of a beautiful strings, and the helicore are more edgy. So for this client, this artist in Nashville, I'm gonna lean on the helicores and do those. One thing that's important to think of is you're gonna wanna take this to an experienced string shop to adjust the notches on the bridge and on the nut to fit these octave strings. Otherwise, it'll pinch the strings and it could fray and break them very quickly. So definitely want to have a string shop do the final adjustments if you have an instrument you'd like to have octave strings on. Thank you so much. If you ever want us to pick out an instrument that would work well with octave strings and set up which octave strings we think sounds best for the instrument, we can totally do that for you. Thanks so much for watching.